Hello and welcome to Mum's Work and Chaos with me, Louise. They say it takes a village to raise a child, so let me help you build yours. During this journey, I'll be learning about everything from neurodiversity in children's literature through to body image post-pregnancy. I hope you enjoy this episode. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Mum's Work and Chaos with me, Louise. Today I'm joined by my beautiful sister, Frankie. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
No worries. So a couple of weeks ago, I ran a little poll over on the Mum's Work and Chaos Instagram page. I basically asked you, what is your most overrated baby product? It could have been anything, something you were given by a family member at a baby shower, something you were influenced into by the wonders of the Instagram influencer revolution. But essentially anything that you were given, bought, told was like the must-have baby product, and it turned out to be a complete piece of crap. So you all messaged in. I got tons of replies actually on this. So obviously it's something people feel very, very passionate about. So we actually got some really funny responses, and I just wanted to go through them with you, Frankie, and like basically do a breakdown from the both of us as combined mothers of 5 tiny humans to like go these responses and essentially give our own feedback. So here we are. The first response we got was bowls and plates and cutlery, because it all just ends up on the floor. Now I use
totally
a high-chair table. 100% agree. 100%.
Yeah, what a waste of time. The sticky ones, I've got those sticky bowls.
Same.
Yeah, they fly. I think because they have this like suction skirt, they just fly further. It's ridiculous. They come off in an instant. I just don't really see the point.
Go elsewhere, don't they? They like like the suction actually gives them more propulsion to fly across the room.
I think if your kid is interested in using like a fork or a spoon, okay, that's probably a good thing. But is it even necessary? Because they've got their hands. Don't worry about it. Like, that's what their hands are for.
We are both the proud owners of a 6-year-old, and I can safely say that there is definitely 100% a cutlery regression at about 5.
Oh yeah, 100%. Well, you say regression.
It never quite happened for you.
Never quite happened with Max. No, he didn't go for that at all.
Really, she was really interested in using cutlery, and now sometimes I just catch her like grabbing an entire handful of spaghetti and just like lowering it slowly into her mouth, and I'm just like, seriously, you have a fork. I've taught you how to twist spaghetti round your fork. Just do
every
it.
day. Every day we have to remind Max to use his cutlery. He's just too busy. He just doesn't have time. He just wants to shove it in his gob. Yeah, he wants to go. He doesn't want to sit there for hours eating. He just wants to shove it in his gob and run away. So now, that's pointless.
At least yours wants to shove it in his gob and go. Mine, she is all over the place. She's legs on the table, slumped down in a chair, spinning around. I'm bored. I want to go. And it's like, I get you don't want to be here with me, but you're eating, whether you like it or not.
I think it's probably just that everything else is so much more interesting to them at this age. It is frustrating, and we're trying to teach Max the art of conversation, so the dinner table's like the perfect chance to do it. But to be fair, in his defense, when he's tired at the end of the day, he's just really not in the mood, so he just wants to shove it in and go. So I think that at a baby age I shouldn't bother with a plate or a bowl. Just put the food on the high chair table. Don't get the fancy wooden ones, and they look really nice, but actually they don't hold a lot anyway. And again, if your kids are like my kids, they're just going to end up on the floor. Don't worry about it. And they're really expensive, especially like the bamboo ones. They're like 15 quid for a bowl. it's just nuts. Like, go down to Asda, get the £1 plates. You can stick them in the
100%
dishwasher.
agree. Totally agree with that. And then like with us, I tried plates again. We didn't have the sticky bamboo sucker ones then, and she would just send it flying anyway. Indy was more interested, but quite honestly, if I'm honest, she was basically pouch raised.
Yeah.
And Hannah likes to get bowls as hats, so they're generally not used. I did get one of those silicone sticky matte ones, but it was too big for the high chair table, so I
I've had
to cut it down with scissors to make it. I didn't
bother. Do you know what? I think mine's still in the cupboard somewhere. I didn't even bother cutting it down. I hid it because I didn't know what to do with it.
And God bless her, it's a Stacey Solomon one, and it's beautiful, and I do use it, but a lot of the time it doesn't actually stick to the table because it's still too big, and I didn't want to cut it down that much that I'd ruin it, because I love it.
That is the thing, I think, with like just in general in the baby market, it's about the look of it, not necessarily the practicality of it. And that's what's frustrating, because you do get sucked in. I mean, even I can see the pram here from here. And the first one I got for Max was really bad. I got it online. It was the Cassato one. The brake didn't work on it. It was really clunky. It was a travel system, so you had everything in one place, which sounds amazing, but it was really bloody heavy. And I was living in a flat at the time, so I had to keep the buggy in the car. I
remember buying you that blanket for the car seat with the handles so that you could pull him out and carry him up the stairs more easily.
But then when he got bigger, it was just ridiculous, because the flat didn't. I was on second floor, and I didn't have any lift or anything, so it was just hell. But I mean, I think when you get to the pram stage of it, you're okay. It's when you're faffing about with a carry cot and a car seat and everything it gets annoying. So then this time with having Lily, I thought, I'll get a fancier one. So I went for an oyster one. I just couldn't do eye candy, or what's the other one? Silver Cross. I think they look really nice. I've heard good reviews, but they cost so much money, and you think it's only really for 3 years. Like, I just I can't part with it. So, but oyster was still nearly £1,000, to be fair. And I have used all of the bits on it, but it is really heavy. And I sort of think maybe I should have got a pram, and then just the car seat separate. The only thing is, when you've got a car seat that slots into the pram, it is really good if you go to the shops and things like that. It's all a lot easier. You don't have to wake the baby up and things. But Lily never slept in a pram anyway. She's just too interested.
With Indy, she was in the same pram as us that was in. We had there's a Mamas and Papas one, but it was made for boots. And then because it was a Mamas and Papas one, we got all the hand-me-down stuff from my sister-in-law, from Alev. And so she gave us like the carry cot. We got a new car seat that slotted in, but she had the adapters already that she could give us. And so we could slot the adapters in. And it was I can't remember what, it's like an Erbo pram, but it was like a generic one made for boots. And so we actually got it when I was pregnant the first time. And so it was a bit weird putting Uster in it, because obviously that one didn't materialise. So it was really strange. But it was like, it was in the sale, and we got the pram, I think, for like 125 quid or something. And it was amazing.
Wow, that's
and you
really
could turn
good.
it around and reverse it and everything. And then when I found out I was pregnant with Hannah, I was like, shit, Indy's still going to need a pram. And so we got the double buggy from Hawk, but it's the one, but we could still put a car seat in the top. And so we got the car seat from Hawk. We couldn't use the Isofix because we had to have 3 car seats across the back, and the Isofix wouldn't work. And Hannah, the way we had to configure the car seats, it just wasn't going to work for us. And then so we got the car seat from Hawk as well, and that slotted in, and we had the under, but it's like a stacking double buggy, so it wasn't like they were two next to each other.
They weren't side by side.
honestly, I think they're a bit of just a bit of an obnoxious way of having your pram, if I'm honest, because it
side by side.
Yeah.
Why?
I just feel like side by side prams are a bit too wide. I don't physically understand how you can get them through a standard door.
Well,
and then
shocking.
Well, that's the thing.
I struggle to get my pram down in a while because the back wheels are wider than the front, so I always get caught on stuff.
I can't quite work out the angles that how you can get a double buggy through a standard door. It just didn't compute, and so I just thought, you know what, a stacking one will be fine. And half the time we've got the underseat in and she's standing up in the pram anyway, and so I'm half tempted to just get a buggy board and go back to my old but
that's a good idea.
Yeah, but it's really good. And the other one we got was a Chico, really like lightweight folding pram when Uster was little, so that we could go for when we flew to Cyprus for a family holiday. And basically you just pull the thing down and go like that, and it just folds flat. So it's like an umbrella pram, not, and it ends up being like the size of a suitcase, and you can just drag it along behind you. It's so much easier for traveling. So good. And you've used it as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I've used it. That was good. The steering isn't great. You kind of have to lean into it to steer it.
You know what's easier is if the child's like leaning forward in it. The weight is forward and it's easier to steer.
Yeah, but I think because it fit, did it go in the overhead? I can't remember what we did with it now.
It can fit in the overhead because it's technically the size of a hand carry as soon as it goes like down. But I think I checked it in and I used that. I bought that big yellow bag for it. Do you remember? I think I gave it to you so that when it went into the luggage hold, but they didn't actually put it in the luggage hold. They put it in like the captain's stowaway on the plane, which is where, like, apparently most people's skis and stuff go in there as well. Like if you're traveling to the Alps for your skiing holiday, a lot of times they put like the skis in there so that you've got easy access to them and they're less likely to get broken in the hold. So yeah, new fact for all of you. This was a hilarious answer.
Yeah, go on then.
A cot.
Well,
now I did message the person who submitted this answer, and yes, basically what's happened is the same. This is her first child, and it's exactly the same thing that happened with me. She's breastfeeding, and it just was easier to have them in the bed and co-sleep. And with me, what happened with Uster was it was a complete and accidental co-sleeping situation. She just really liked being in the bed with us, and she slept
I have that now with Matt.
Yeah, but I needed my sleep at the time, and her being in the bed, it was just convenient. She woke up, she latched on, she went back to sleep. It was easy. But with Indy, she hated being in the bed with us. She still does. She does the thing where she becomes like an Olympic swimmer, and she puts her hands under you and her feet under you, and basically starts scraping your skin off. And you go back to your bed, which she does. And Hannah equally doesn't like being in the bed with us. So
Max didn't like it until he was about 3, and now it's pretty much every night he sneaks in. He came in at about 11 last night, so I was just dozing off. And then he was back at about 1, and I was too tired to put him back to bed after that.
Yeah.
But he just like beat me up all night. It was all fun. But no, I do get that. I like my babies were bottle fed. I just didn't work out for us. But I think having that extra comfort is really important. I don't know. What I was going to say actually on that though is my overrated thing is those sleep pod things. So what are they called? Like sleepy head things. Snuzz pod. Yeah. You don't need that.
Next to me crib.
The next to me's probably. if you don't have room for your baby to have their own bedroom, and you don't plan on having and basically the baby's going to sleep in with you until God knows when, just get a cot. I wouldn't do the next to me thing. I don't think there's any point in having both. For me, Lily was going to go into her own room, so having like ours was like a little crib thing, so it was quite handy. And then put her in the cot when she was about 6 months ish, maybe a little bit earlier, something like that. That is handy. I would rate a Moses basket more than a snuzz pod thing, because
you can move it upstairs or downstairs.
You can move it upstairs, downstairs. You've got a stand for it. I think it's safer. I think it's much safer, because if they roll out, they can't go anywhere. You can leave them for a bit. And if you've got pets, they can't get to it because it's on a stand and it's higher up. Generally, your pets can't get to it, because I've got a dog. And I wouldn't have left it on the sofa and gone out. Maybe I imagine people leave it on the floor. So obviously, if you've got cats,
about like
go and sit on babies
things.
Yeah, with
so I had one of those with it for Hannah, and I did actually really rate it.
Did you?
If I'm honest, so what I did with mine is I have a Chico travel crib that I was given by my sister-in-law, and I don't think I would have got a next to me crib like it. I could if I wasn't given it, I wouldn't have bought one like a next to me thing. I would have just used a Moses basket, right? But what I did was I got a knockoff like Sleepyhead pillow.
Yeah, they're so expensive. The proper ones.
Mine was like 35 quid off Amazon. It's a Dukey one, and it was brilliant. And I would 100% recommend. They're great. But what I did with it was I put it inside the Chico travel crib, because the crib itself is huge, and she wouldn't settle because it was so big. You've got so much space that she didn't feel snuggly enough to sleep. And so about 2 weeks after she was born, I bought it myself and used it, and it was brilliant in that way. But I would not leave her like on a sofa. And also equally, having a dog, I would not leave her on the floor in it either. But it was good for like having showers and things, because if she was awake and I needed to have a shower, it was better because there's no like sides to cover her view. She could always see me. Whereas when Asta was tiny, she was always in the Moses basket. And if I put the Moses basket down on the floor, the sides were like too high for her to actually get a good view of me, and she'd start crying the minute I got in the shower. And so if they're awake and they're tiny,
that's quite good.
And it's handy. But
I used to use the bouncer. That was quite good. But when Lily was really tiny, her head sort of would go a bit. So getting in the shower was a bit stressful. But on just baby sleeping, you can look up safe sleep for babies, because probably some of the stuff we've said is wrong.
Oh, 100%.
I think
we are not sleep experts, guys.
We're not sleep experts. So I would look that up. So something that's just popped up here is the Lullaby Trust Safer Sleep for Babies. And some of it, like I really, really live by, like have baby at the bottom of the bed, not the top. Don't make them too warm, things like that. Because I think babies are quite hot. Like Max was ridiculous. He was always really, really hot. Lily gets hot. She's in a sleeping bag, So look it up. Don't take our word as gospel. But
something I found useful as well was on the Instagram page for You and the Sleep Sheep, which is, in my opinion, an overrated baby product. But please follow their Instagram, because their Instagram is really useful for sleep tips and things as well. But on their Instagram, they did have, this was a long time ago, like a little fact tile that told you how to dress your baby according to different temperatures in the house.
Yeah, they're so handy.
And I screenshotted that, and I still have it in my favourites on my phone, even though my kids are much older now. Like Hannah's nearly 15 months and running around like a work dervish. But I found that so handy. I will track it down and I will share it on our Instagram as well, because it was so handy. But like, that's really good. Now, this is a good one.
Okay.
Black and white books for babies.
Yeah.
I have one black and white book, and it's because I was given it when I registered Hannah.
Yeah, they do, don't they? It's part of like the baby pack.
Yeah.
I did beat myself up a bit about this one, because I was like, oh, I haven't sat with Lily and gone through the black and white book, but what's going to happen if you don't? They didn't have that when we were babies. Like, cavemen did not. That's pretty much the rule I live by. What did the cavemen have? And they got by. They were all right. They didn't have black and white books. They survived. But I used to really beat myself up about it. Like, oh no, I haven't done this, blah, blah, blah. If you can't find the time or the energy or the willpower to do it, I wouldn't worry about it. I think it's just one of those nice things to have. But yeah, I think it's supposed to like get them interested in shapes and things, and they can't see very well, can they, when they're teeny tiny?
The black and white apparently creates a really good like contrast for them to be able to like focus on things, and apparently their eyesight's really bad when they're first born, and so it helps with like visual stimulation. But equally, that only lasts a short time.
Yeah,
so having using a black and white book, I don't think is that much of a worry. Teething gel.
I remember you saying you preferred the teething powder. I never remember when you had Usler, and I think I was must have been pregnant with Max, and well, I would have been. And I remember you just like tilting it back and shaking this powder in her mouth, and I was like, "What are you doing?" And yeah, I think I used that on Max, and it was good.
It's been a good thing for Hannah recently, because she's just like drool city. She's got her big molars coming through, and she's in so much pain. But right, do you remember what I used to call it? The teething powders.
Oh, baby cocaine.
Yes. And when us were little, there was basically like a shortage of teething powders, and it was really hard to get hold of them. And so we used to trade them at baby groups.
Oh my god.
Like, there would always be like one mum with the teething baby who was like really distressed and upset, and you'd be like, and they'd be like, "Does anyone have teething powder?" And you'd be like, yeah.
I have got some powder somewhere. I've also got like a gel stick thing, and it seems to have like a brushy thing, and oh my god, trying to use that is too exact, if you know what I mean. But Lily, to be fair to her, I don't know what she's preparing for, but she's already got 8 teeth and she's only 1. She's crazy. And her molars are coming through. She's done really well with teething. She actually hasn't been that fussed, but the molars are getting to her. So I haven't actually had to use much on her at all. I remember Max would have like apple red cheeks. They were so red, and he'd be in a lot of pain, and he'd be really upset. And touch wood, and I really don't want to jinx this.
Find all the wood.
All the wood. Yeah, Lily's been all right, but yeah, I did have to use some a little while ago. I don't know. I would say if you don't think that the gels work, go for the powder, because in case you're wondering, the powders that I use are the Ashton and Parsons powders, and they're really good. When they're really little, you're only supposed to use like half the sachet, and the sachets look huge, but they're literally like that much powder. It's tiny, but they're so worth it, honestly. That's what's worked for me. Usler was bad for a short time. Indy didn't get any teeth until she was over a year old, and they all like came through at once. And Hannah has nearly got like everything, and she's but yeah, the Ashton and Parsons teething powders, 100%. Yeah, they are good.
So we got this message through. I think the best thing I bought was the Bumbo chair and the jumperoo. I wished I didn't get a baby walker.
Really?
There's a very specific reason for wishing they never got a baby walker.
Okay.
It is.
Yes.
My eldest got bitten by a hamster while in it, and then I had to take her to hospital, where they then told me that they were really unsafe and I shouldn't use them. So by this baby walker, I know it's one of those sit-in ones where you end up it looks like a Dalek. So
yes,
those ones, because apparently they can create like a hip separation because you've got the thing. Anyway, more recently, I have seen mums buying reusable nappies before the baby arrives, and then realizing that they're really not a feasible option, especially with the amount that babies poo.
I really wish it was possible. It probably is if you're really determined.
Mum, you know, Mum bought reusable nappies for
the terry toweling ones
that we ended up using as washcloths.
Oh, really?
You know this.
I thought she used them for me too.
The terry towel nappies Mum bought for me, and then essentially they just became little hand towels and washcloths that we used for ages.
She still got
some. We literally washed our face with those things. And she never, and it was like the minute she put me in one, she then realised what an awful decision this was and went straight to disposable nappies. And your bum never touched a reusable nappy unless it was to be washed with.
Okay.
Because it was such a bad idea.
I wish that
the 80s,
it was.
So
I wonder what they used to do in, like Tudor times. That's just picking something really random.
Historically, what did
they do?
Like in 1873, what were people using for their kids?
It is bad. I do hate the effect on the world nappies 100%. Must be having. I don't know, as a full-time working mum, I can't imagine having another thing to wash and sort and
so reusable nappies for both of us, we believe this is a no-no. Also for my sister-in-law, we got my sister-in-law bought an expensive swing seat. And it turns out the baby actually really hates and prefers the £10 bouncy chair we got from Facebook Marketplace.
Can we quickly go back on the walker? Because you got that walker from your sister-in-law, right? And was it used then? Can't remember.
What the plug the baby,
the orange
walker one. So it's blue with like things. No, it was a gift from Syl's aunt.
Oh, okay. So then we borrowed that for Max. So when we had the flat, the living room and the kitchen were very open, so he had quite a lot of room.
But then you were worried about him touching the oven, and we realised that this would create a barrier so that he couldn't touch the oven when he was learning to walk.
Yeah, because it was like a ground level.
So
so it was
safety problems. It was actually safer for Max not to touch the oven. So
I think that for Lily, there isn't really the room for one of those ones, and my dog is scared of anything that rolls. He's a nightmare, so you can't hoover around him. He goes for that. Mops he goes for. He doesn't really like the pram very much either, so that's another thing.
It does remind me that I do actually have a
but you don't need it.
But it's one of those like stand-up push-along ones.
I've got one. No one ran it.
Okay, cool.
But I think that you don't. Just to say is that you don't need one. Like having used one for Max, it was good for him. But for Lily, she's been absolutely fine without it.
Stand-up walk-along one was good for Hannah, because she was so small when she started walking. She was literally just turning 10 months when she took her first steps. But Indy was almost 11 months when she started walking. And honestly, I think would have been walking at 10 months had Usler not kept rugby tackling her to the floor. And so by that point, she was strong enough that she didn't need a walker. So we didn't use it for her. But yeah, 1 second.
I have to open this. I'm sorry. This is off piece. I ordered something for my friend, and she's just found out that she's in remission. So I'm really excited. So I just want to check. I'm so happy for her. She's really been through it, bless her. Yay! And I've got her. I don't know. Is that the right way around?
Yeah.
Life can be tough, my friend, but so, my darling, are you.
Ah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's come quickly. Etsy. I rate Etsy. Etsy's fantastic.
As an Etsy seller, business. I also rate Etsy. Yeah, that £10 baby chair though, the bouncer, 100%.
Yeah.
I had one for Usler. I think it actually cost £5 from Boots in their clearance sale, and it was brilliant. Jesus. Yeah, really and good. Then but like the other thing was the bumbo seat. I personally do not rate the bumbo seat.
No, why do you not?
Because so Usler, she was pretty well behaved, and I would put her in it, and I put the lap tray on, and we'd have like picnics in the room where we'd sit and share food and have like, you know, CBeebies on, and she would stay in it. Indy and Hannah are both little escapologists and could easily work out how to get out of their high chairs, and so would also try and dismount the bumbo seat. And I mean, I would never stick it on a table. I'd never stick it on a high surface. Please don't ever do that. Please follow the guidelines, because I know someone whose child did fall out of it and onto a kitchen floor.
No.
But it's I just feel like they're a waste. You've got a high chair, stick them in a bloody high chair. They're high up. You can strap them in.
You don't need it.
Table. You don't need it. No.
I did use one for when Lily was like pre-high chair. There was this sort of, I thought she was pre-high chair, and then when I finally got the high chair out of the loft, it turned out she could have been in it, so I didn't use it. But when I get it from Facebook Marketplace. I've got so much this time round. When I had Max, he was my first, and I felt like everything had to be brand new. And that isn't the case. Like, go on Facebook Marketplace. With Lily, I got her changing table, which is also a chest of drawers, and a matching shelf, which I still haven't put up. And I got a wardrobe, and I got 2 rocking chairs, one of which I resold because I thought I needed one downstairs.
No, I kind of wish you hadn't now.
Sorry. And then I got Max's wardrobe as well from Facebook Marketplace. I've got loads of stuff from there. Oh, and the jumperoo I got from Facebook Marketplace. I think some things, like, don't ever buy a second-hand car seat because you don't know if it's been in a crash.
Yeah.
But there are so many things you can get. I have made some mistakes, like actually the unit under the stairs I got from Marketplace, that's really good, and I repainted it. And then but the one in the living room, I don't know, I think I spent 60 quid on it, and it's awful. It's really bad. Like, the drawers don't close properly.
Is this the one from the shop?
No, this is one. It was on Facebook Marketplace just from someone who said that she renovates furniture, and I don't know what she did to it, but maybe she made it worse than what it was before, because it's pretty shocking. So that's going to the dump. I'm not even going to resell that, because that's just basically part.
Such hit and miss. But honestly, guys, if this is your first baby, seriously, your baby does not need everything new. And if it's something that's really expensive and you don't, and the reviews are mixed, I would 100% say look at Facebook Marketplace, because it's going to be so much cheaper for you to try it and find out that it's shit. than if you buy it and then you're like, oh crap, I've spent 120 quid on a swing seat that doesn't work for me.
Yeah,
thing
that's true.
is the clothes. Honestly, baby clothes are so expensive. They grow out them so quickly. Again, you do not need new baby clothes. They will just shit up their back, and it doesn't matter if you buy something secondhand and it's got a poo stain on it. Your clothes will have poo stains on them, regardless whether it's someone else's baby that created the mess or yours.
I feel like maybe that's too far.
No, I'm very lucky, and you are now sort of also complicit in this.
Yeah.
I get a lot of hand-me-downs from my sister-in-law because she's got 2 girls who are older than mine, and I've saved a fortune on clothes. So thank you again, Olive. You're amazing.
Yeah.
Person.
And then I've then benefited from some of that as well, thanks to you.
Yeah. and in some cases you even got neutral stuff for Max that worked as well.
I did pretty much buy all of his stuff. What I did was, this is another top tip, I personally really like Asda George. So
Same.
There's a massive one around the corner from me. So every time he got to a next age bracket, I'd just go up there, spend about 40 quid, 50 quid, and that was in for the next 3 months sorted. And then obviously when they get to a year, it goes to 6 months to age range of clothes. So, you know,
and after that, when they get to 2, it's every year. It's so much better.
You don't need to spend a lot on baby clothes because they go bobbly and they're going to stain them. They're going to get food down them when they're weaning and things like that. They're just going to make a mess. So I wouldn't go like designer and things like that. I know people who are adamant they have to have everything just right, but actually when it comes down to it, I'd rather spend the money on like a day out and you know,
Hannah has a DKNY coat. But it was a gift. I would never buy that for her, and it came. I know it came from TK Maxx, so it's a TK Maxx gift coat. And if I'm honest, it has been through the washing machine about 4 times already, and it's doing amazing. But again, she's going to grow out of that, and I know Lily won't benefit from that coat because it's a proper full-on like winter puffer jacket, and she will be too big.
Yeah, that is the thing we found, isn't it? That your babies were born, well,
they were
born spring,
and Indy
and
then spring, which means,
and then Hannah is winter. So their clothes are fine, but Hannah's clothes don't work because they're all like extra warm.
Yeah.
And that's why Max's clothes didn't really work for Lily, because some of his stuff is like neutral.
Yeah.
Which I've still got in boxes in the loft. But no, they didn't work because he was like dead of winter. He was like born right in the thick of it, whereas Lily was spring and then very quickly into summer.
Yeah, that's the thing with Hannah being like mid-November baby, and yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Right, now we both own one of these because I bought them for the both of us. This is a controversial opinion because it worked for us there, and I bought it for Max because I thought it would work for him. I can't remember the exact review you gave me after using it for a while, and clearly he's now getting in your bed, so it's probably not a useful item. But this message is, I hate grow clocks and things designed to keep kids sleeping longer. I spent a fortune and nothing worked on my kids. I'm sorry, but it uses the grow clock actually, and she also uses it for draconian lawmaking in the bedroom that keeps Indy in bed too. So which is, it's still blue, Indy. You're not allowed to leave this room. Read a book.
Yeah, I don't know. Max never really went for it. It is a night light. That's what we use it for. I know a friend of mine found it really, really useful, and their kid is just that way and listens to rules. Mine does not. So he would get up, come into my bed. He'd get up again. He'd get up to check if the grow clock was yellow, and then he to show that it was daytime, and then he dragged me out of bed to show me that the grow clock was yellow, and we could both get up now. It's pain, absolute pain in the butt. So we use it as a nightlight, but nothing else. Do you know what I would say is, I wouldn't worry too much about them coming in. Like I genuinely think
they're going to get up at 5.
I think that they need us. That's what we're there for. And it doesn't have to be this sort of old-fashioned thing of being separate all the time. It's okay, and it won't last forever. It really, really, really won't last forever. Like, I remember Max being teeny tiny and just feeling like the days were really long, and I was so exhausted. And it is still like that sometimes, of course it is, but he's 6 already. He's 6, which has absolutely flown by. The fact that we've lived through 1, 2, 3, like all of those stages, and there were big stages, big phases that he went through. Yeah, he does struggle to go to sleep, so I have to stand there and stroke his hair and sing to him. And I could try other methods, but I just think, so what? When he's 10, he won't want to do that anymore, no. And he won't want to come into my bed anymore. And and then I'll miss it probably.
That's
sometimes I don't mind. One time, I admit something, a couple of weeks ago, I had a really, really horrible dream, and I woke up in the middle of the night and Max was there, and I gave him a big squeeze to make me feel better. He's my little teddy.
Well, after
I think surely this person who wrote that has had more stress trying to get their kid to sleep in the bed, to not sleep in the bed and to actually sleep through, than to just bung them in bed. Everyone goes back to sleep. Just don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You've kind of, I don't know. It's no criticism to that person who ever said that, but just don't worry about it. It won't last forever. It really won't. And then one day you'll wake up and the kids will be 20 plus and they'll be at uni. Maybe they would have moved out, probably not in this economic state. And you'll be able to have lions, and you probably won't want to by then.
No, we'll probably be up at 5 anyway, enjoying the sunrise.
Yeah. Don't. I would just wouldn't put too much pressure on it. Don't put pressure on it. It is what it is. Lily has had me up at 5 o'clock in the morning yesterday and today. I have really bad eye bags now, and I'm aging very quickly. It's a lot of makeup. I just think sometimes you just gotta give in to some things. Just don't stress about it, because it will just make it worse and you'll get angry and frustrated. Just don't bother.
Get resentful of your child's sleep patterns, and it doesn't help anyone.
No,
this one I think you can contribute to really well, because I never used one of these, and I can't remember if you did. I had a prep machine, and that was it for gadgets, and I actually found it really useful. Did you ever use a prep machine?
No. People probably wouldn't agree with the way. Okay. I'll try and tell this quickly. With Max, I was breastfeeding and I was really struggling, and he had tongue tie and he had colic, and it was really shite, and I felt like my milk never came in. I literally went to some breastfeeding clinics where literally milk was just, I don't want to say oozing, but being produced, gushing, flowing, literally just coming out of them. And I was jealous to a certain extent, because I felt like I was doing it wrong, or what was happening. Anyway, I got to the point where I was bloody miserable, and I was sat on the sofa for like hours and hours with him feeding, and I just felt like nothing was happening. So in the end, I decided I was going to try me on bottles, and I didn't know what I was doing. So I went to a breastfeeding clinic, because they at the time, whether they have it now, they didn't have bottle feeding.
A bottle feeding clinic,
no. Which really is rubbish. It should just be feeding clinics, and the way 100%. You do it is irrelevant. As long as that baby is fed and happy, 100%. Don't worry about the rest. Anyway, so I went to the breastfeeding clinic and I said, I've been doing all this research. This is the formula I want to use, and this is the bottle I want to use, but I don't know how to make the bottles up. At the time, 6 years ago, so they were a bit. The first lady I spoke to was fine, to be fair. She was like, okay, she did try and encourage me to stick it out, but I was like, no, I've done like 9 weeks, I think, and I just had enough. He was bloody miserable as well.
You persevered so well, honestly. I remember this so well. And I just want to cut in really, really quickly and just say, you can be a breastfeeding mother and be miserable breastfeeding as well. It's not just about you can be capable of breastfeeding and it still be a miserable experience for you. Because with me, Asna would not take a bottle. I tried every bottle known to man. I even imported a bottle that looked like a boob from Australia, and it still didn't work. And by the time I gave up, she was a year old. I did it until she was a year old, because that's when you could convert them over to cow's milk. And I had a miserable time with it. I just felt like I had I was stuck to this baby and no one could help me. No one else could feed her. And it was so difficult for me. It was convenient, but it was difficult. It wasn't until I had Indy and I moved her over to bottles at 6 months that I realised how much faff comes with bottle feeding. But then I did exactly the same thing with Hannah, because honestly, guys, they bit me. The little effers bit me. And I couldn't, I gave them a warning, said 6 times, which is more than 6 bites, and I'm off, and then it's done. And they both did it, and I cut them off. But I honestly, think it was a miserable time for me.
I wouldn't discourage breastfeeding at all, no. But I would also say don't feel ashamed of, it's not quitting, it's changing method. That's what it is. And 6 years ago,
either way is too hard.
You actually can't win. You can't win. If you breastfeed, it's uncomfortable for everyone, which is really horrible, because then that's their issues on you, which is bloody shit. And then if you bottle feed, you're not doing it naturally, and you just can't win. So actually, don't worry about what anyone says. You just need to do what is going to make you and the baby happy. So anyway. I didn't use a prep machine. 6 years ago, I was advised that I could pre-make bottles up, and I think when he was teeny tiny, I used to pre-make 10 bottles a day.
Wow,
I think that was quite a lot. And he'd stick them in the fridge, and they'd last 24 hours. When I came to have Lily, so there's a 5 and a bit year age gap between them, the advice wasn't to pre-make; it was to make it as you go and cool it down, which, if you've ever met a hungry baby, which I'm sure you have, is a very aggressive, upsetting time for this little person who is extremely starving. They cannot wait for a bottle to be made and cooled down. It takes about 25 minutes. So yeah, I know you didn't agree with the way I did it either, but like so many people have done it, and I have done it actually on days out. Can I explain that one? So my method is to make a bottle up. So you boil the kettle, as long as you mix it with the powder within half an hour and shake it and stick it in the fridge straight away, it's fine, and less bacteria. But a lot of mums, they pour boiled water into the bottles and have the powder measured separately, which is what you do. So my issue with this, I sound really silly, is that the powder is not sterilized. So when you mix the boiled water with the powder and then cool it down, you're sterilizing that powder. You're not killing any nutrients, because I checked that with a health visitor. However, when you're using cooled boiled water later on in the day and you're mixing it with the powder, you're not sterilizing that powder, but the water is sterile, so that's all right. It's a really funny one. It'd be interesting to see what actual health professional thinks about it. But
so I was told that you could do it that way because the bottle and the water were sterile, because you sterilize the bottle stays sterilized for 24 hours when you sterilize it in the sterilization, which is what I did. I would always wash my hands before reassembling the bottle. I'd pour boiling hot water into it immediately, so the water is sterile, the bottle is sterile. And then I would, and the powder prep pots that I was using, I would also sterilize in the sterilizer.
Oh, okay.
And then we put the powder in them so that they were dry, they were sterilized and dried. And then I put the powder into the pot. So everything that contained the powder, the water, everything was sterilized. And then the water was room temperature and ready to go. But my issue with the way you did it was that on the packet it said the bottles needed to be used within like 2 hours of them being made, and didn't say anything about them being refrigerated.
Mum's Work in Chaos,
and so I was
make
like,
sure to
I don't know what to do.
And
so I did it my way, you did it your way.
If you'd like to get involved,
if we're honest, guys, the message at the end of the day is fed is best, and do you.
See you then.
I bought the Grow Room thermometer. I buy it for all my babies. It's really handy to have, so you know the temperature of the room, and it also acts as a night light. I also bought the Grow blind for traveling, because if you can't guarantee there'll be blackout blinds wherever you go.
Yeah, I agree
with the Grow thermometer. I think that's a good idea. But do you know, the one that I love is, I have now got the Tommy Tippy Star one.
Yes, I was going to say this. I've got the penguin one. I don't know if it's Tommy Tippy, but 100%.
You tap it and you fling it in the bath, and it flashes red if it's too hot, and it's brilliant. But it also comes with a little stand that acts as a room thermometer. So you just tap it again, you put it on the stand, and it tells you how hot the room is. And so I used to have it set up in the girls' room, and then every time I did a bath, I just tapped it and popped it in the water. And for Hannah hated baths. She loves them now, but do you remember every time I bathed her, she'd cry and cry and cry. And so I used to, don't judge me guys, because she was washed, I used to flannel wash her. And I used to just like pour a little bit of water over her head, and I'd do it all in the sink, because the sink was smaller and cozier and easier to do these things in. And so just like tap it, chuck it in the sink with the water, make sure it was the right temperature, and we're all good. But I do think there's a benefit to having a thermometer in the room, especially if like the bathroom downstairs and portability and all of that stuff. But the Tommy Tippy, or
if you're like in extreme temperatures, so if it's really, really cold or it's really, really hot, it helps you then determine what, like going back to thing you were saying earlier about what to dress your baby in. So you can go in the room and you can say, oh, it's 25 degrees in here, it's quite warm, what I'm going to dress the baby in. Or it's 15 degrees, it's a bit chilly tonight, what I'm going to dress the baby in. So I do agree with that. I think that's really good. With the blackout blinds, I used to really stress about Max waking up because it got sunny. Luckily I haven't had that with Lily, because she was a teeny tiny baby last summer. I think that maybe we can underestimate how versatile kids can be, and I wouldn't get it unless you really feel like you need to. It again, with that kind of falls in line with the sheep. What's his name?
You in the sleep sheep.
You in the sleep sheep. So that's the one with the heartbeat. I was bought that, and I still haven't put batteries in it. We just use it as a toy, because I don't want Lily to have something that she needs. I can't sleep because I haven't got You and the Heartbeat sheep going off at night. I just didn't want another sort of thing. She has dummies, to be fair.
For Indy, we were given
Max didn't have dummies.
The Grow Owl, and
now
turns out that Grow has been acquired by Tommy Tippy. There you go. We were given the Grow Owl, and Indy loved the owl. And not just, it does play the heartbeat, it plays the white noise and all that bump, but it was good for the little night light on its belly. And she liked having one toy in the bed. And so she had the Grow Owl, which now sits on her bed. Hannah, we got a Chico nightlight that played the most incessant music.
Oh yeah.
Like Pachelbel's Cannon, but like whiny.
Yeah.
And it also did like rain noises and crickets and all that bump. But yeah, so that I got that. Someone gave that to me for Usler, and I still use the nightlight. I used to use it when I was breastfeeding her because it was nice just to have a light, and it was like on a timer, so it would last for a certain amount of time, and then it auto switches off, so it doesn't waste the batteries, which is awesome. But Hannah likes it, and it goes in her cot, and if she wakes up, it's like a self-soothing aid. She just turns the lights on. You might hear the music, but generally she turns the music off. And it's actually quite good as like a little self-soothing aid, because she has it in the cot, she turns the lights on, she can lie down and see the stars, and next thing you know, she's asleep again. But it was quite cool because it projects these stars onto the ceiling. And it's onto the walls, like if you're close enough to a wall.
Yeah, Mum's got that, hasn't she, for the kids?
Yeah, she's not got the same one, but this is the Chico one, and they've upgraded it since, you know, it's been 6 years old now. But they've upgraded it, and I've just recommended it to a friend who's about to have a baby, which is awesome. But yeah, it's that's a really good one too. I don't think you can ever get the right nightlight. Each of my kids have liked something different. Like, yeah,
I've got another recommendation based on that. But yeah, so Cowpole do a plug-in, which I really think is good when they're really congested. So you put these it's a plug-in and it's got a nightlight. I hated the nightlight. I thought it was too bright, so I stuck plasters over it. And then, but what you do is you have these little kind of filters that you put in, and it releases vapors into the room that helps your kids sleep, because it helps them breathe and helps them not be congested. And I think that was really successful. As a night light, it really annoyed me. It was just too bright. So yeah, you can modify it.
We have
in a cheap way.
I bought one of these for Max, but in IKEA they sell these like stick-on wall lights. And I bought Usler a flower. That's the one she wanted. And while we were walking around, she saw the flowers, she saw the other ones, and she was like, "Can we get Max the cloud?"
Oh yeah, I love that. It is really good. We always have it on. We bought Max the cloud,
but they're bright enough that the kids can use them in their room at night to like, or first thing in the morning if it's dark outside in the winter, to like navigate their bedroom. But Usler has it on every night still.
Her one's purple, isn't it? The flowers,
so it's
purple.
Not as bright, whereas the cloud is
the cloud is. So we use it for reading. So he sits in bed and we read a book, and then it goes off, and then it's bedtime.
But it's nice because you can stick it sort of like anywhere on a wall. So if you wanted it as like a reading nook light for like under a canopy bed, you can do that. Or Usler's one is stuck up because she's in a bunk bed with Indy underneath, and so it's stuck up higher on the wall. And we also use it for reading, but she keeps it on because it's like you said, it's that sort of like the same sort of pinky purpley colour as the logo in the corner up there. And it gives off more like a sort of more muted light than the bright white of the cloud. But yeah, you know, I think like, you can never get the perfect night light. I think every child is different, every preference is different. I think, you know, like, just add it to your wish list on your baby shower list, and then if it's not right.
That's another recommendation, is thingstogetme.com is really good. And I actually used it for Christmas, because I think some of the family and friends weren't sure what to get the kids for Christmas, or us, to be fair. So I just did a few ideas, and that really helped. But yeah, if you're doing a baby shower, something like that, put put on there the list of things that you'd like.
Yeah.
And you just send the link around then. It's really easy. And then everyone can see that's being bought, this has been bought. So you don't have duplications of things. Because that happened to me where I think I told a few people a few ideas and then I got like 3 of the same thing. So yeah, that list is really good. Things to get me.com.
Yeah. I use Amazon wish lists as well, but it's again, it's a preference. With the Amazon ones, you can add external links, but it's a bit of a faff. So I think your system's probably better for people who want to compile a list that is from different stores. And but equally with the Amazon wish list, people can shop around and then they can just reserve the item and tick it off. So either's good. But yeah, 100% compile your own list for your baby shower, send it around. People expect it. People are lazy, they want to know what to get.
People want that. Yeah, they don't really want to deal with it.
But yeah, as you all know, we are both full-time working mothers, and we have taken our lunch break to discuss this wonderful topic with you. If you have heard the podcast and you would like links to some of the stuff we've spoken about and things that we've suggested, please feel free to write into mumsworkandchaos@gmail.com, and we'll be more than happy to send you a list of our suggestions. Equally, comment on the podcast on Spotify, and again, we'll 100% message you back. DM us on Instagram, please. We love getting your messages. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me today.
Okay. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you on. And if you guys enjoyed this podcast, please do make sure to subscribe. See you later.
Bye.